Hi, everyone, and welcome to Commercialization Talks. I'm very honored to have Dr. Telmo Santos from CCG Portugal. And I'm very honored to have you here today and this afternoon and your morning. Thanks for your time. Telmo, you're one of the rare ones in the world that you do commercialization and technology transfer, and at the same time, you did your PhD in technology transfer. So you are not just doing research on technology transfer, but also you are very hands-on and experienced in this field. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your journey and your organizations and what do you do in CCG in Portugal?
Okay. Sure. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon for you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invite. It is really a pleasure to be here discussing with you this topic that I love so much. As you mentioned, I work in technology transfer, so I'm the head of technology transfer at CCG. We are an applied research institute in the area of ICT in Portugal. So we work mainly with companies to address their challenges that can be solved with AI, artificial vision, computer vision, data analytics, etc. We are in a broad. We work in a broad spectrum of areas in this big ICT world. But actually, I'm a biochemist. My background is in biochemistry. But I quickly, after my graduation, I quickly understood that this interface between R&D results and the market was my favorite place to be. So I actually did a master and a PhD, as you mentioned, a PhD also on this university industry cooperation topic. And I've been working on this topic for 12 years already.
Wow. That's a long journey. I know you for a long time, and last year at ASDP 2025, we met each other finally in person at in Vilnius, Lithuania. That was amazing opportunity to meet you in person. So tell me a little bit about your PhD and the topic that we selected today. That it's all about commercialization and technology transfer journey, basically, and how is I do know that different cultures and different ecosystems, they have different dynamics. I'm working with Europe, I'm working in Australia, and I'm in touch with American and a little bit of Asian markets. Everywhere they have their own style of technology transfer and commercialization. Europe is very interesting one because from one side, many European universities are top of the world, and they are quite advanced in all areas, in social sciences, life sciences, physical sciences, in fundamental research. And you got huge capacity, particularly when you got as a EU altogether. And we got so much grants all across Europe to actually push the innovation. And you have a very interesting approach to innovation and commercialization, which is very different compared to the North Americans or a little bit Australian style. I've been working with many different places around the world, in the US, in Australia, in the Middle East, in Asia, and Europe. Europe is very different in terms of how they approach to technology transfer and commercialization. Of course, the entire ecosystem is very different. My experience is working with many European technology transfer offices and innovation organization is we got a very big pile of inventions and patents sitting on the shelf. Why it's happening this in Europe? What's happening there? What's your experience?
Okay. Very interesting question. I think that, first of all, there are different realities within Europe because there are different countries that are, although there are some common rules around the European Union. For instance, different companies, they have different economic and legal context, and that affects both the performance of each company, of each country in this topic, and also the relationship, the unified market that could exist for these technologies. But actually, so first of all, there's a huge difference between countries. Then I think that compared to the United States, for instance, the approach of technology transfer offices and universities, each is also focus on commercialization, but also on impact in a broad sense. And when we say impact, we can be speaking about transferring the technology to social economy or understand use of this technology without any proper formal licensing or transfer agreement as a benefit for society, universities, technology transfer itself. And that's why, so first of all, I think that researchers are more disclosure and open source, I'd say, oriented in Europe than in the United States, first of all. Then
that's interesting. Yeah.
Also, a study from 2016, I think, or 2011, a huge study comparing inventions from coming out of universities, both in Europe and in the US, found out that actually the number of patents that are licensed are more or less similar, at least if you account with the quality. If you take into consideration the research quality as a variable, as an independent variable. But the number of licenses are similar, but the revenues are much lower in Europe than in the US. And actually, this is one, I think that this also reflects this more impact-oriented approach rather than just economic or financial approach, where many times universities license technology or make technologies in patents available at low cost in Europe while compared to the US.
Yeah, please.
And I'd say that those are two very important questions. Another thing, and I think this is also a relevant factor while comparing US to Europe, for instance, US. A recent study from the European Patent Office, CPO, found out that around 70% of patents, of university patents in Europe are licensed to the companies within the same country. So if I'm a Portuguese university, 70% of my patents will be licensed to Portuguese companies, and so Spanish universities, German universities will license to German companies. The impact of this is huge because each country, if you look to Spain or France or Germany, you have bigger economies, but most of European economies are small. So if you are limited to your own the companies of your own country, you will have more. It will be more difficult to find someone who is willing to license and to pay for your technologies. While in the US, the market is huge, so it's also, I think that this also impacts this licensing approach and technology transfer approach. That is, and there is a difference between Europe and the US.
These are very interesting observations. The first one was, yeah, I agree. I've seen more researchers in Europe that they are more pro open source and open science approach, and we need to discuss and convince them that having a patent application is not against open science. We still can benefit from open science and share it. At the same time, we can patent an invention or innovation, and then we can actually, which is another side of it. It's a very interesting conversation. I agree with that. So do you see that I've got a few questions here. The first question is, do you see that motivation for researchers in Europe is a kind of not a barrier necessarily, but a kind of a challenge for technology transfer offices to commercialize or not, which is they are motivated to for science for the sake of science and education and research, compared to other areas that the promotion or KPI or evaluation for the researchers are based on patent impact oriented. And I see that impact in Europe is more towards societal impact rather than just financial impact, pure financial impact, which is one of the biggest differences between European culture or American Australian culture or Anglo-American systems. I'm not saying they don't have it. I'm saying that in Europe is bolded here in terms of societal impact. And you're very right that getting a license and the negotiating terms and conditions of a term sheet with a tech transfer office in Europe is much easier than negotiating with the US Patent Office if we compare them together. Because they won't actually let it to go to the society and to the community rather than just creating pure revenue for the other one. So my question is here, how do you define impact? Because it might be a little bit different from US or Australia or Europe as they define impact. And of course, your observation that majority of the patents, and of course, this is an EPO report, which is not about national patents that going to the national industry for each jurisdiction or for each country. Even EU or EP patents or the patents that or across Europe, they are still doing the same. So is it based on the relationship? How you define success story here? I'm missing the link here. What is the success for a TTO in Europe?
Okay, great question. A lot of them. I'll try to pick from the beginning.
Yeah, it's
from the beginning. One of the things that you mentioned when you started the question was the motivation of researchers, and I think there are two points of view here. The first one is the rewards or the compensations that researchers have. In Europe, researchers are promoted basically based on their publications, journal peer-reviewed publications, and then academic and teaching activities. So for that reason, researchers are, or in most European countries, again, it's not the same in every European countries, but in most European countries, the reward system is created around publications. So there is less motivation to patent, protect, and commercialization and cooperate with industry for the sake of it, because publication is promoted. On the other hand, when you start speaking about cooperating, having joint R&D projects with companies, for instance, or licensing a technology to a company and then developing that technology with that company. A lot of researchers will be worried that it will compromise their scientific freedom
Hmm.
um, to
Interesting.
do to define their research lines in which way they want, and they will be worried that they will be limited by the economic interests of companies. So this is also a barrier that is there and is relevant. But actually, several studies tell us that researchers who cooperate more with companies actually are researchers who also have more publications and who also have their own, who also have resources to pursue their own research lines independently on the companies. So actually, one thing it's not exclusive from another. You can cooperate, and you can with companies, and you can have your own research lines defined by just your curiosity or scientific vision. Um, and actually, this feedback from the companies will provide not only resources, but also research questions that
Yeah.
are interesting from from a science point of view, independently on economic interest. Um, so this I think these are two important points. Then can you remind me again of your question, please?
My second question was which was aligned with the motivation. It was about defining impact, which you are already touching a little bit of it um, because when it's a kind of a how should I say because it's a kind of the research starts from a question and a problem from industry, so there is a little bit market pull from it, which means that if we got a solution for it, it's easier to go to the industry because industry, they already have a problem, and we do know that which industry has this problem. I want to come back to the impact section. How you in Europe you define impact and quantify and evaluate impact for your researchers, maybe or across Europe or in Portugal or in your organization. How do you do that?
Right. Well, it's very hard to define the impact other than, I mean, the KPIs that you use to measure impact are very publication and or quantitative
Hmm.
oriented. So there's been a huge discussion on and studies and discussions and people trying to find new. Actually, you were involved in an initiative like this a few last year maybe within
Yeah.
ASTP, because we have been always trying to find new ways of measuring impacts besides the traditional KPIs
Hmm.
that don't reflect all aspects of in which technology and license or a cooperation with a company can impact society as a whole.
Hmm.
So we are very much focused on publications, number of publications, and quality of publications. And from the researcher's point of view, and from the TTO point of view, number of so more an input KPI, that is number of protective patent or protected technologies, and then the number of licenses and revenues. But actually, we are missing a lot of, as I was saying just now, we are missing a lot of impacts that we are also having in the ecosystem, in companies, in society.
That's true. So there is another question, because I do remember when I was in Germany in for 2 years, I was living and working in German technology transfer offices. In Germany, they had WIPANO, WIPANO, which is, if I translate it to English, it is knowledge and technology transfer through patents and mark and what copyrights or trademarks? No, trademarks, sorry, marking. So it is basically, it's a kind of a funds that the German government supported universities and many even startups or industry for the patent cost, and not just for the patent cost, any kind of a cost associated with technology transfer and so on. Even universities, they could get up to 85%, or I don't remember exactly, but quite significant amount of their patent application and the TTO's cost through the German government support, which was quite generous in that regard, because they were very generously patent any invention coming out of the university. At the same time, when you got very generously patent everything, of course, it might be novel, it might be, of course, there are some utility in it, but novelty, utility, and inventive step that we are looking for a patent application is not necessarily makes it successful to go to market. So the way that you are saying that the numbers of the patents coming as a kind of a impact, that's why I'm observing some technology transfer offices pile of patents and inventions, and they get actually bogged down with so much administrative work of it that they don't have time to commercialize anything. How you want to actually manage between these two spectrum? From one side, generously don't let anything out of the university, patent out everything to make sure that one day it's going to be successful, particularly in life science. You can imagine it takes years to actually get to the market. It's not like IT or digital world. And at the same time, it's so much cost and efforts and energy for the technology transfer offices. Where is the optimum way of working? How you manage it in your organization then?
Okay. First of all, the fact that a big portfolio of patents or actually a big portfolio of intangible assets. It happens with other intangibles besides patents. You take 80% of your value from only 10% of your assets. It's the same for patents or for other assets. And actually, so it is normal to have a big pool of patents or patent applications, and only 10% of them are really profitable. 10 or 20% of them, it's profitable, and it is something that is general around different fields, also in different countries. Then the other thing regarding your question, actually, one of the challenges for TTOs is to determine what has value, what will have value in the future, because usually the development stage of technologies that come out of universities, and I'll first focus on universities, is low. So there's a huge technology uncertainty. There is a huge market uncertainty. So it is hard to know or to determine which technologies or which will be valuable. So it's hard to determine from the beginning for sure. Okay, we will protect this instead of that because this one will be worth a lot of money and the other one will not. So a lot of times CTOs just choose to, okay, let's protect everything, or when we are uncertain, just like protected, because we don't know what will, how it will evolve in the future. And actually, one of the challenges that EPO, European Patent Office studies shows that TTOs have is a lack of resources, as you mentioned, human resources, because we spend a lot of time in patent prosecution, and we don't have so much time for valorization of those patents. And actually, many of available funding, both at national and European level, are to protect, are there to support protection, patent technologies, and there's not so much available funding to commercialize, to promote the commercialization of that technology. Another difference that can between the US this 2011 study shows between the US TTOs and European TTOs that can also have impact in this. Besides the availability
excuse
of
me, I lost the last sentence.
Okay.
Can you actually repeat it, please? Yeah.
Yeah. Still related to this, another difference that the 2011 study that I mentioned before shows that is a difference between the US and European TTOs is that US TTOs have more staff that have industry experience. And those people will be are more aligned with industry language and motivations. So even they can reach better results, namely the negotiations because of that. And that's also maybe that's one of the reasons that sometimes justify that we don't have not enough, it's not only enough resources in terms of number, but enough resources in terms of profile in TTOs that can, or in European TTOs that can support these successful technology transfer processes.
That's very interesting because, as I said, when I'm observing two sides of the planets in Anglo-American style, which is more about agility, more about market, pushing it, the invention to the market, and comparing with the European one, which goes everything step by step. My observation was in Australia, at least, or in many parts of the US, I know that they do that. Before they going to file a patent application, they think about, oh, okay, it's very expensive. So we need to actually, they come and do a kind of evaluation and market evaluation and talking with the experts before they go. Even it has happened. I had this experience that I used to go to industry through confidentiality agreements and so on, share a little bit of the invention. And it was hard. To do not disclose the invention, but at the same time telling the value of this invention. So I've got this black box. Don't look at to the inside of the black box, but it can help you about this and that. What do you think about it? But I say that in Europe, in Germany, for example, because I work with many German TTOs, not many, a few, but the main ones. But what they do is they got different approach. They evaluated from is it patentable or not? If it's patentable, let's file a patent application and then go to industry. So this is your PhD and this is your expertise and this is your area. Where should we start? Should we start from invention, going to industry, or come back? Yeah, I to be honest, I preferably love reverse engineering. Going to industry, get feedback, and I don't know why, maybe, but which way is better?
Okay, I think that both should live together. The problem with that is having the TTO having enough resources to do that for all the inventions or for all invention disclosures before filing patents. Because usually we don't have enough people for each invention disclosure that we receive to knock on a couple of doors in the industry to get some feedback on the commercial potential of that invention, and then decide on the patent application. That's why if it's patentable, okay, let's move on, and then we will do that work after the patent is submitted. Also, because the researchers want to publish or want to go to conference, so they don't want to wait 1 year until they have the patent application submitted. They want to have a fast track process. Yeah. The thing, and this is the case of when you with the technology push thing. So when you have this research that is developed in universities, following research line of PhD students or group leaders, this situation is different when you work in an applied research institute like CCG, where I work in. Because actually here, it's more a market pool approach, because we have the need because we only do research when we have the need from the market already identified. So we have a company or an hospital or a municipality who comes to us and says, okay, we have these needs. Develop the solution. And so we know that technology that we are developing will have will hopefully cover some need that is in the market. What we are also trying to do here at CTG for those technologies. We also have some technology that are more research or scientifically oriented, so that don't have this clear market need from the beginning. We have this pool of mentors, we call them mentors, in different fields of industry that are already defined, and we know they know who that they have this collaboration with us, that gives some feedback on the applicability of the technology. So if we have a technology for textile industry, we have someone who is in the textile industry that we will reach out and, look at this technology. What do you think? That is there a problem that it solves in your field? So this, although it is also this technology push approach, we have an easy access to a pool of industry specialists who can give us some quick feedback on the potential, on the commercial potential of the technologies.
That's a very interesting one, because recently I had a conversation and I suggested it to some technology transfer offices in Europe, and of course they added that this is a good one to have some mentors, different names or different, but the same function at the end of the day. Some they call it entrepreneur in residence, some they call it mentor or industry expert. At the end of the day, someone who knows industry better than us. And I got some around myself at MH Inspires, my company. I'm trying to actually get involved with those people that they just retired from the industry because they know the industry very well, and they have time now to actually spend, and they're passionate to give back. And that's a good time. So they are still connected, but not too much disconnected, and they know the industry, and they facilitate the connections. They facilitate to those people that they are decision makers and so on. And I've got another team around myself. That's many of them, they are MBA students. And I got so much value for that because MBA students, generally speaking, they are quite mature students. They had some experience in industry and they are passionate to do something more and develop themselves. So I got them around myself. So sometimes when it's a kind of a startup opportunity, I use this kind of entrepreneurial mindset and the business mindset of the MBA students and the experience of those people that they recently retired. That's a very interesting one. And I've seen that it's growing, particularly in Europe. I've seen that many in US or elsewhere, but I'm seeing that this is very growing in Europe. The question I had to my colleagues in Europe that we have another big pool of university alumni that we normally do not see them, but they are already our soldiers and our network in the industry. Why we are not taking this advantage of this asset and get connected to these alumni, which could be global. But it's very interesting. How do you do these kind of mentors here in CCG?
Due to our due to the fact that we do applied research, we have a huge network of companies with whom we work. So it's relatively, no, it's quite easy for us actually to identify a few people or a few industry experts, as you also call them, that can work with us in that position. Also, it's interesting for them because some of them are, for instance, innovation directors or commercial directors. So they are always looking. They are interested in technology and in new solutions at all in general, but they are also always looking for new technology that can improve their business. So they also see this as an opportunity to find and to get in touch with emerging technologies. That's alumni suggestion that you made. So it's a very interesting one also. It's a huge network of people around all industries, all the world, that could be more well used, I would say, used to this purpose, for sure.
Yeah, that's true. And also from the European culture, and this is what I'm feeling it myself, that European universities or research organization and so on, there is a kind of a sense of belonging. It's actually embed in your DNA when you are working there. It's the same in the US. When you go there, you feel home and you want to do something. And this kind of a sense of belonging, it's very valuable, particularly for the alumni, which we are this connected between this class and that class and how they can help each other and they can give something back to the university and the community, of course. That's very interesting. So if we want to wrap up, we discussed about impact in Europe. We discussed about motivations and open science approach in Europe. We discussed about how you do mostly, but particularly in the CCG, because of your great network of industries that they are coming with some problems. Most of them, they are coming as a license. And you said the majority of the European networks are easier to actually license it out because they want to actually create that impact from the European perspective. If you want to summarize this conversation and give us some insight about how do you see technology transfer in your organization in Portugal and Europe, how it's going to be look like by next maybe 5 years?
Okay, yeah, great question.
Hard question.
Well, yeah. First of all, there's something that is already impacting technology transfer that we didn't mention here, that is AI. So there are a lot of tools that are already available in the market and that are being developed Also based on AI to support this technology transfer activity.
Yeah.
A lot of organizations are developing their own internal tools. So there's commercial in the market tools, but also internal tools, and that will for sure impact technology transfer because it will change the way that technology transfer offices look for novel innovations or look for partners or identify strategic people within companies that can contact with whom they can contact or identify competing technologies. So that is already having and will have a huge impact in technology transfer activities. And that is not something not something that will just I mean, TTOs will have to readapt the way that they do stuff, not just use those tools as a complement to what they are already doing, but they need to readjust how they do stuff. That is one point. And another point that I would like to, at least I don't know if it's happening, but that I would like to see happening in at least in European TTOs would be to bring more industry experts to the TTOs, either as the internal staff, so hiring staff that have industry experience, or using those industry experts who will be directly and closely linked with TTO supporting their activities. I think that would be a big improvement that would lead to a big increase in the results of TTOs.
Yeah. That's very interesting because I think we are converging to one point that when we are bringing industry experts to the TTO, which means that somehow we are doing reverse engineering that we discussed earlier. That's reverse commercialization, if you like, and bring it at a lower cost, but at a bigger and larger impact on what we are doing, to make sure that we are allocating all the resources to the right direction that we can do it. The one last question. Now, because obviously majority of the people around the globe will watch and listen to this conversation, how we as a community of tech transfer officers can help you?
Can help?
How can we actually, as a community of tech transfer officers and experts, can help you?
Me, myself. Sorry,
you as a tech transfer office of CCG, is there anything we can help?
Okay, I think that creating a network, sharing cases, but for sure creating network is very important. So that EPO study also, again, EPO study, I'm sorry, they found that like 70%, I don't know exactly the value of the licenses, the technology, the patent licenses are the licenses are licensed to personal networks of researchers or TTOs. So probably increasing, these networks and finding a way to optimize or to optimize this network in fact to be really interesting or would also have a huge impact on my daily job as technology transfer officer.
That's very interesting, and I hope it happens. Thank you, Telmo, for your time. I really appreciate it, and thank you everyone for watching this conversation or listening to this conversation. And let's stay in touch and helping each other and make a greater network. Thank you all. Thank you, Telmo.
Thank you. Thank you again for the invite.